in this country, we're taught that weight gain is really only a calorie problem, or maybe you're eating too much and you're not exercising enough. But the data don't really bear that out. And let me show you this. So if you look, and this is data from the Department of Agriculture, if you look at caloric intake from 1970 on, it goes up. It goes up and recently went down a little bit. But if you look at the weight of people, it doesn't track. There's something else going on. And let me show you that in this next slide. So during this period from 2000 to 2010, the caloric intake actually went down. But for both men and women, the weight went up. And I looked at this and like, what is going on? And that's where something else was going on, something in the environment that we call obesogens. And I'm a big fan of this book called The Obesogen Effect. And it came out, Dr. Bruce Blumberg, a researcher from UC Irvine, at least when he did the research. Okay, so, and this is one of his papers where it basically says the epidemic of obesity should be reassessed because there are likely chemical obesogens that are causing this. But how in the world would you study this in people? I mean, is it ethical to inject people with chemicals? I don't think so. So what did they do? Well, in 2009, they injected rats. Ugh, not a big fan of that either, but this is what they found. They basically injected rats with an obesogen or chemical called BPA. And many of you have probably, many of you have heard of BPA, because if you go to the store now and look for a plastic bottle or plastic cookingware, it might say BPA free. But what they won't tell you is that the other types of obesogens like BPF or BPS, it might have those chemicals instead. So unfortunately, BPA has been turned into a marketing thing where if it was just one chemical that was toxic, we would be done and this would be easy. It's not. It's literally thousands of different chemicals. So in this study, they fed the rats for 6 months, and this was the normal rat on the left didn't get the toxin, but if you fed them BPA, 6 months later, you got 36% fatter. Yeah, but you might say, guess what, Dr. Josh, I'm not a rat. This may not apply to me. Fair enough. Well, my alma mater, Harvard, the School of Public Health, there did an obesity study. And, they thought ethically, what can we do? You know what? Why don't we just study newborns and see what chemicals are already exposed to? And here's the thing, you can't accuse babies of not exercising enough. So, like you can with some adults. All right, I want to take the blame thing out of this. So what they found, they found that the obesity rate for infants has gone up tremendously, a 73% increase under the age of 6 months since 1980. And what they found is right at birth, they took umbilical cord blood and they found 287 chemicals, toxic chemicals in the blood. Well, 75% were known to be toxic. Well, where do you think 95% of these toxins come from? And this is important to know. It's like, hey, if you're, let's say you're a mom or planning to get pregnant, like I don't want my baby to have all these chemicals. And the scientific name for these chemicals is POP, persistent organic pollutant. I like how they come up with acronyms to make this sound not quite as bad. All right, so it turns out that 95% of these POPs are coming from eating animals and animal products. Now, does that mean that you're a vegan, you don't eat any animal products, that you have no POPs? No, but you probably have a much lower level. So one example of these obesogens are environmental estrogens. And what are some examples? You may have heard of some of these, like atrazine is fertilizer or pesticide they'll use on golf courses to keep it green. Well, guess what? It's not allowed in Europe, but I guess it's good enough for this country, right? BPA, DDT, dioxin, endosulfan, PBB, PCB, phthalate, zeranol. I grew up in Los Angeles, and it turned out that Los Angeles was like the hub for production of DDT before it was outlawed in this country. And, first they had all this, they decided in I guess in the 60s and 70s it wasn't safe. I'm glad they figured that out, but they're like, hey, we've got all this DDT to deal with. Where are we going to put it? So first they put it in landfills, and they're like, you know what? Wouldn't it be easier just to dump it in the Pacific Ocean? So that's what they did. They filled it in barrels, in 500,000 barrels, and they just threw them between the coast of Los Angeles and Catalina Island. And the problem is when they were on the ship trying to toss these barrels of DDT out, they're like, they're floating. We don't want these floating. You know what? We want to go to the bottom of the ocean here. We're going to. They used a machete and they opened up the barrels so they would sink. Well, great, they did sink, but in the process, it also released all that DDT. So when I, as a kid growing up in Los Angeles, went to the beach, I got exposed to this stuff, and this was in the news within the last couple of years. That they can actually now, with new technology, they can go and they can see all these barrels that have, some of them still have DDT, and I don't know if they're planning on cleaning this up or not. The problem is, sure, if you take a big ocean and you dump one barrel, yeah, who cares? But the problem is when you start dumping huge amounts, there's a limit. So what do these chemicals look like? Again, I know this is not a biochemistry class, but basically PCBs are polychloroyl biphenyls. These are not normal chemicals. You will not find this in nature. These are man-made in the last 100 years. And it's a big experiment. And where do you, but as a backup, where do you get these chemicals from? For example, dioxin. This is a study from the EPA, government study. And they wanted to say, like, where are people getting this from? It turned out the biggest doses for beef, dairy, milk, chicken, pork, fish, and eggs. Now, does that mean if you don't eat those things, you're not getting any? No, you're getting some. Some you would breathe in, some's in the soil. And if you grow plants on the soil, some of it's going to be in the plants. So I'm not saying if you just eat plants, you're going to be chemical free, but I'm saying you're going to be doing so much better than people who are eating from the top of the food chain, from beef and fish and chicken. So why not? So if this is true, we should be able to compare vegans to non-vegans and check their toxin levels. And the French did this study in 2017, and that's what they found. They found that the non-vegans had 10 times as much of these chemicals as the vegans do. So this is another example, is you are what you eat. Not only are you the fat that you eat, you're also the fatty toxins that you eat in the animals that were exposed to this. So you might wonder, well, how do these chemicals like PCBs build up in living organisms? Well, first of all, it's time. The longer you're exposed to it, it accumulates, and then also on the food chain. And what do I mean by that? And this is a busy slide, but it shows like you might have a chemical like PCB with a very low concentration in the seawater, but as you go up the food chain from the plant planktons, to the animal planktons, to the invertebrate fish, and then birds and mammals, the numbers go up. So if you're choosing to eat from the top of the food chain, you're going to have a much higher level than if you're eating plants. So this is another busy slide on obesogens, just to let you know there are many different types of obesogens. So quickly to go through some of them. Well, first of all, the impact they have is on different parts of the body. So One example is what's called tributyl tin. Now, tin's a metal, and it turns out that elemental tin is safe. The problem is when tin in a lab gets bonded to a carbon atom, in this case, tributyl tin, which one use is, I remember I had a boat when I lived in Detroit, Michigan, and I would put paint every year on the bottom of it to prevent green stuff from growing. Well, guess what was in that paint? Tributyl tin. And, it kept the plankton from growing on it. But the problem is I painted it, and then I took that boat into the water, and some of that tributyl tin got into the water. Now, if it was just me doing this, who cares? But when it's not just me, when it's thousands and thousands and thousands of people, the tributyl tin level in the water goes up. That's why, unfortunately, today you can't find a pristine, non-polluted body of water that doesn't have these chemicals in it. Another example is phthalates used in plastic production. This is one reason I highly encourage you to minimize your exposure to plastics. And now, I'm not saying, ideally you'd have none, but in modern life, good luck eliminating all plastics. And you might say, yeah, but you told me that the biggest exposure was animals, eating animal sources. Well, it turns out some of these, like cows, are fed plastic bullets right before they're harvested. And if and that's to clean out their system before they're harvested. And if you eat that meat right after they've been harvested, their plastic concentration is going to be high. So that's phthalates. We talked about atrazine. We've talked about BPA. Organobromines are flame retardants, which originally I think was added to clothing and to furniture so they wouldn't burn when people fell asleep smoking, which is good. You don't want fires, but this was like the solution for the tobacco industry for liability. Here's another one, PFOAs. This has been called the forever chemical. And it's an obesogen, and it stays in the environment forever. It also causes lots of other chronic diseases besides obesity, like cancer. So you do not want PFOA on your cookware. And you might say, well, Dr. Josh, how do I find something that's safe? Here's one trick. See if it's made in Europe. Europe seems to care more about public health when it comes to this chemical exposure than this country, unfortunately, so far.